What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue, and I hope you're all doing well today. This video is gonna seem like a really odd throwback until I explain why, but it lets me talk about my favorite expansion ever, Mists of Pandaria. Oh, and Warlords of Draenor too, I guess, but that's besides the point. The drop rates for some of the most elusive and daunting to farm mounts in the game have been greatly increased, which was announced by Blizzard in a recent hotfix to combat an issue with the new Drakthir evokers. This video will show you which mounts have had this drop rate change on, what has actually happened, as well as how to find them and some other useful tricks. It'll also be time segmented in the play bar, so feel free to jump around as you see fit to whichever parts of the video are useful to you. First, a quick explanation of the post Blizzard put out which goes over which mounts have been affected by this change. The drop chances for Sons of Galleon Saddle, Reigns of the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, Reigns of the Cobalt Primordial Direhorn, Reigns of the Thundering Cobalt Cloud Serpent, and Solar Spirehawk have been greatly increased. As I mentioned previously, this seems like a super random change, since these mounts have been in the game for literally a decade. To know why this happened, you sometimes have to dredge through the evilest hole in the world. Trade chat, or Reddit, I guess. Basically, for those who didn't know about it, newly created Drakthir evokers were able to have an insanely high chance of looting the rare world boss mounts from Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor due to the evoker class not having any other eligible loot rewards. These mounts were all known for abysmally low drop chances, being as low as a 1 in 1,000 drop chance rate. This evoker bug was hotfixed within just a few hours of the servers going live. However, by then the damage was done and plenty of new owners of Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpents, Thundering Cobalt Cloud Serpents, Sons of Galleon, Cobalt Primordial Direhorns, and Solar Spirehawks were all seen flying around capital cities overnight. Instead of removing all of these mounts from these players, which would have been probably a bad look for the beginning of a new expansion because of the good old #FunDetected meme, Blizzard decided to just increase the drop rate a lot, or greatly. But how much is greatly? Well, exact numbers will come around once more data is gathered of people gathering these mounts and collecting them with the new change, but the initial speculation is somewhere in the range of a 1 to 2% drop chance. To a normal, sane person, this still sounds like a ridiculously low chance. But if true, that is an insanely large increase over the previous expectation of around 0.1%. I've seen at least 6 people get one of these uber rare mounts in person just while getting footage for this video, and it only took me like a few hours to get the footage for this video. So I imagine the drop rate is even higher than I'm speculating. It's also just been so nice to see more people going after these mounts and getting to explore Pandaria again, because so many people have farmed this on dozens of characters every week for literally years, plus the usage of bonus rolls which give you extra chances every week per character, so maybe now people will finally start to earn these. If a 2-ish% drop chance hasn't scared you off yet, and you like the looks of some of the frankly coolest mounts ever put in the game, in my definitely unbiased opinion, then continue on down the rabbit hole of mount collecting and farming old content for cool looking flying serpents and fiery birds and crap. And something I just want to point out real quick before we get started is every single one of these world bosses has roughly a 15-minute respawn timer. So if for whatever reason you don't see a world boss at that spot that I'm telling you to go to, then it should be up within 15 minutes at the very most. As a precaution, the lowest level character I have attempted to loot the world bosses on so far was level 41. So I can't say exactly how low of a character you can use to farm these mounts, other than probably at least level 40, but really I suggest being as close to level 60 or higher once Dragonflight launches as possible, simply because you might not have a lot of people all piled up waiting for these bosses to spawn, so being able to solo it might be a necessity once the hype and rush of everyone wanting these mounts dies down again. You'll also want to make sure that you've at least trained expert riding so that you can use flying mounts. Frankly, I would just get the highest flying skill possible, but it does get kind of expensive on multiple characters. Reaching these bosses without flying can be extremely arduous and kind of frustrating. We'll start with the Mists of Pandaria world bosses. To reach Pandaria, you'll head to the portal room in either Orgrimmar or Stormwind if you're Horde or Alliance respectively. The portal you'll be looking for will take you to the Jade Forest. From here, I'll just be doing a quick showcasing of where each world boss is, what mount they drop, and the easiest way to get to them that doesn't require special toys or specific items, especially if you've never done any of this content before. It can be a little tricky figuring out how to get places. We'll start with one of my favorite mounts, the Thundering Cobalt Cloud Serpent. This mount drops from Nalak, the Stormlord, and is located on the Isle of Thunder. To reach the Isle of Thunder, you'll need to go to Townlong Steps. At the Shadowpan Garrison, there will be 2 different NPCs based on your faction. Scout Captain Elsia for Horde players, and Variso Windrunner for Alliance players. If you've never been to Throne of Thunder, they will each have a quest for you, but you might not see it if you have Trivial Quest Tracking disabled on your tracking options. To enable it, for future reference, click on the binoculars icon on your minimap in the corner of the screen, and make sure that the box next to Trivial Quests near the bottom of that list is ticked off. Either way, the quest you're looking for is called The Storm Gathers, and this will send you on a flight to the Isle of Thunder. Once you land on your faction's boat, you'll want to hand in that quest that you just picked up, because it gives you a beacon toy that will teleport you back to this boat once you're done killing Nalak. There will be a glowy orb statue looking thing on each ship respectively, and clicking on it teleports you to the shore. You can do this quest chain if you want, but it's not really necessary as you've now opened up a portal from that base camp in Townlong Steps to your boat on the shore of the Isle of Thunder. From here, you'll just head towards the entrance of the Throne of Thunder raid, and in the courtyard right in front, you'll likely see a number of people ready and waiting to try and get their hands on this elusive mount. All these world bosses do take reduced damage for a few seconds, so they can't be just one-shot by high-level players, but don't take any chances and just use an instant cast ranged ability or a melee attack if that's all you have. Once you've killed Nalak, use the beacon toy that you got from that introductory quest to get back on the boat, and there will be a portal on deck to send you back to Pandaria for your next boss, Galleon. Unsurprisingly, Galleon will drop the Son of Galleon mount, which is just a mini version of himself. He's located in the Valley of the Four Winds to the southeast of the Silken Fields. You'll see a big dirt field where he spawns, and likely at least a few people waiting around. Thankfully, he's a nice and simple farm, though there are some kinda weird phasing issues due to quest chains in this zone, so you may see more or less people depending on if you've done the quests in Pandaria in this area before on that character. Up next is my #1 favorite mount in the game, period, ever. The Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, which drops from the Shaw of Anger. This world boss is located in Kunlai Summit, just southwest of the town of One Keg, which happens to have a flight path right next to its spawn point. When the Shaw of Anger is about to spawn, a bunch of these smoke vents are going to shoot up out of the ground, so get ready to tag the boss with anything that you're able to. Next we'll fly north to Oondasta, the last Pandaria world boss, located on the Isle of Giants. This is kind of a tricky one, and it's why I saved it for last, because it's really far away and you can't fly on the Isle of Giants, so I usually just use my Hearthstone to get back after I'm done killing it. You're just going to fly north from the Shaw of Anger's spawn point, over the water, and be careful of how high up you are and how close you are to the Isle of Giants. You see, once you get too close, you are automatically dismounted, and if you're really high up, there is a chance you'll hit the shore and you'll just go splat. There are plenty of items and abilities in the game that can prevent a death from these heights, such as a slow fall, levitate, heroic leap, grappling hook, or if you have any, goblin glider kits, which will actually let you get to the boss even easier. If you don't have any of those, then you can just play it safe and land in the water and swim to shore though. There is a flight path right on the coast of the isle, so you can always pick that up too if you want. Oondasta will be in the middle of the Isle of Giants, and there is a little pathway marked on the map by a couple dots that go up the hill straight to him. Now, before we go to Rukhmar for the Solar Spirehawk, I have one important bit of information to share for Pandaria world bosses. There are 2 different types of bonus rolls that you can purchase, and you're allowed to use 1 on each boss per week. The 2 bonus roll types you'll need are the Elder Charm of Good Fortune, which is usable on the Shaw of Anger and Galleon, and the Mogu Rune of Fate, which is for Nalak and Oondasta. Each of these are purchased with currencies that you can farm from enemies on the Timeless Isle, which is located to the southeast of the Jade Forest zone of Pandaria. This is yet another no-fly zone, so don't get too close to the coastline when you get forcibly dismounted if you don't have a slow fall or a goblin glider or something so you don't die. Basically, any elite enemies on the map will give you a pretty good amount of timeless coins and lesser charms of good fortunes, both which are used to buy the Mogu Runes of Fate and Elder Charm of Good Fortune respectively. The most popular farm spot that is accessible by every player, by far, is the Gulp Frogs on the southeast part of the isle. However, this has always been well known as the hotspot for farming these, so you'll have a lot of competition most likely, unless you're on like an RP realm or something. Another good alternative are the Ordon, which are these Tauren looking dudes that are scattered along the upper hills of the isle. A tip for veteran players though, if you happen to unlock any of the legendary Mists of Pandaria cloaks back during the expansion, is the area where Ordo spawns. The enemies there drop way more coins and charms than anyone else on the isle. If you remember earning this cloak on any of your characters, then you should be able to just go over this bridge at the top of the Timeless Isle, and a magical wind thing will carry you over, and it will put you next to Ordos' spawn area and all of his dudes that give a ton more coins. However, if you didn't earn the cloak, you cannot go over there, because even if you manage to with Mimi tricks or anything, it'll just kick you out. To buy your Mogu Runes of Fate, you'll want to speak with Mistweaver Ai, and she's located next to Emperor Xiaohao in the middle of the Timeless Isle by that little arena-looking thing, where all the Celestials are. These will cost 1,000 Timeless coins each. The Gulp Frogs are super fast spawning, so as long as you can get a couple of these to yourself, then this is still a really fast way to get your bonus rolls, even if you can't do the cool skip over to the special area. For your Elder Charms of Good Fortune, you'll want to head back to Townlong Steps to the Temple of Nizhao. Commander Lo Ping is the fellow who will have the Elder Charms for sale, and they cost a mere 20 Lesser Charms each. Make sure to stock up, but remember you can only use one on each boss per week. Our final world boss for this video is Rukhmar, who drops the Solar Spirehawk. She's located in the Spires of Iraq zone in the alternate universe Draenor that was the focus of the Warlords of Draenor expansion. There are a number of ways to get there, but if you're not an engineer, most of them are kinda slow. There is a portal in both Stormwind and Orgrimmar's portal rooms that will take you to Ashran, and from there you can fly southwestish over across the entire expansion zone, which is likely what most of you will have to do if you aren't an engineer with the extremely potent Wormhole Centrifuge, which will allow you to teleport directly to each zone of Draenor. There may be other alternatives, but frankly it's only a few minutes to fly out to Rukhmar. If you have your Garrison Hearth that might be a little faster. You'll likely see a few other folks camping our spawn point and piled up on this one rock, which is located directly south of the Skyreach dungeon entrance. This boss, unfortunately, cannot give them out via bonus rolls, so it's a little bit more rare than the other options still. Also, it spawns pretty high in the air, so if you're a melee class, you might have a hard time tagging it before everybody else just nukes it. I ended up just having to fly up into the air on my mount and dismounting to hit it with a pistol shot, since it's the only ranged move that I had. For ranged players, this is less of an issue, but it's something I really wanted to point out because I lost out on a couple tags and had to wait again and again just to get footage for this video. And that's as complete of a guide as I can whip up for these 5, hopefully less soul-crushingly farmable world bosses for you folks. I have already seen in person at least 6 people get one of these 5 elusive mounts just while getting footage for this video, so I have a feeling that the drop rate might be even higher than I'm assuming. Good luck and happy mount farming. As always, my appreciation and gratitude to all of my viewers, patrons over on Patreon, and Twitch subs. You folks all help make these Shiba Shenanigans possible. Thank you all so very much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.